Once again, it's Monday. Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome back. Glad you made it. It's another social production. We're doing it on May the 15th, 2023. Where can you find these videos? Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Instagram. Follow me there if you like. Subscribe on YouTube for the full-length videos. Check out patreon.com/RobSadri. What's up, baby? Cause it's Monday, queefing butts and farts. Monday, queefing farts and butts and tits too. Farts and butts and queefs and plugs and queefs and plugs and farts and plugs and tits and butts. 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 Tits and butts and queefs and ass. Farts and boobs. Queefs and ass. Tits and farts and queefs and ass. Tweets and ass and queefs and that's what we do around here, baby. Where can you find these videos? Once again, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. Instagram, follow me there. Subscribe on YouTube. Check out patreon.com/RobSadri. If it's your first time, welcome to the show. Buckle up, buckle down. If you've been with me for some time, thank you for all the love and support. Sending it right back at you wherever you're tuning in from, whether it's here in Canada, down south in the US, further down south in Mexico, but you're trying to make your way in either from Mexico or anywhere south of the border as well. South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Antarctica, Papua New Guinea, New Zealand, Australia, everywhere, baby. Hope you're all doing well. It is Monday. We're halfway through the month, and it's cooking, baby. I'm feeling good. I hope you all out there are feeling good as well, and we're doing it together. So it's lots of exciting things are going down. Bunch of stuff that I'd like to speak with you about today. Let me get a sip of this bad boy first. First story of the day today. One of the, it's an exciting, before I get into the stories, I just had a great weekend. You just, sometimes you have good interactions, just minimalistic, good human interactions, and it's just nice when you see a nice lady or a nice gentleman. You're just talking and whatevs. It's not for a long period of time, but it's just good vibes. Met a beautiful Jamaican Canadian lady, Miss Jade. And shout out to Miss Jade. That's what it is. And we got to talking, and she's just a nice lady. And that's what it is. And you just have these interactions, 5-10 minutes, bang bang boom, and it's just good times overall for everybody. That's what it is. So it's just the little things that count, whether you're holding the door open, whether somebody's out there hoping somebody would shut the door right in their face. Hopefully you're there. Maybe somebody's having door problems altogether. Maybe take out their door, putting a revolver, just one of those revolving doors. Maybe just get rid of the door altogether. It's an open door concept, whatever. You know what I mean? It's just the please, thank yous, and your welcomes that makes the world go round, really. That and a lot of other stuff. We are spinning in midair all day, every day. So that's cool too. But it's just, I felt good. It's just the little things, and let's get into it. We're gonna have some fun. Despite the fact that all of us are having mostly fun, beautiful, positive interactions, there's always times where, we're still seeing the ripple effects. Maybe it was already there before even the pandy schmandy, but that kind of exasperated. You do see people acting a fool here and there, and that's what it is. Whether it's and nowadays, again, we're in a society, for the most part, where everything's caught on camera. Especially if it's outside, if it's inside, it's a lot of there's no longer doing things and just having it be there in that one particular time and space. If anybody was there to witness it, that would have been. But now everything's almost always caught on camera, and sometimes people have momentarily, they just I'm gonna whatevs. I'm gonna just crank it up or crank it down, depending on where they are on their cranking up and down levels. But that's what it is. And here in Toronto, we had a incident. We had a little of a, but I'd like to get into it because I'd like to be able to digest this all together. If we can. There's a video that surfaced a few days ago. There's an article about it as well. There's two gentlemen, one snake, two men's, one snakes. That's the situation right here, if you will. Two men's, one snake. There was an altercation downtown over over a snake. I don't know if it's over a snake. I don't know if it's a love triangle. I don't know what's going on, but Toronto man was trying to attack another Toronto man with his snake, with his loose snake. And there is videos of this. There's two gentlemen downtown, sort of in like they're kind of like in the middle of an argument somehow. I don't know how it started, but we'll get into it. We can always like go down the storylines and try to figure it out together, because they don't tell you everything. All you see is two men. One's wielding a limp snake. How did it end? It didn't, were there any winners or losers in this particular? You would think that if you are fighting somebody and you have a snake, you'd have the upper hand, you'd have the advantage, but this was not the case. Both men, from the video, it seemed like both men were getting handcuffed at one point or another. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if the attackee is being released. I don't know how. I don't know the deets much. Like, I don't know much about it. I just saw a man wielding a limp snake, and I'm like, this is where, and that's not to say that you should be using the times or anything like that to, like, I'm just saying what objectively looking at. Let's just take a fun scenario, because here's the thing, there's pros and cons to everything, and oftentimes animals are always put in boxes, categories. Snakes, the Slytherins, you're always like, oh, either in nature or some dude, rarely ever is it a lady, but sometimes there are ladies who are into snakes or reptilia, if you feel me. But other than that, you don't see too much usage. They're in gardens, they're on they're in the forest, they're in the jungle, they're in the bush, they're in the Everglade or whatever. And that's the thing, this is opening new doors. This is, at first it might seem like it's all bad. There's definitely, and there's good and bad in everything. There's portions of this where we could be like looking at this and how do we do this better if we are going to be doing this moving forward. First of all, I like to say that the animal from the video, it was a limp snake. So right off the bat, and I know this is just the early stages, perhaps we could scale this and make it into a competition down the line, and we'll get into that aspect of it as well. But for the meantime, I'm seeing two gentlemen go at it. One is wielding a snake, but the snake is limp. It's a loose snake, it's limp, and this man every once in a while will go on like, here, have a bite of my snake right here. Suck on this snake a little bit. Is that even? How did it all start too? Because that's the thing. Is this like innuendo was this fella trying to like pick up another fella, and he's just like, yo, come check out this snake, and the other fella was like, not right now, or not here, or not my type of, or whatever. And then this fella's like, well, my snake's not good enough for you. My snake's, and it got a little bit, I got to read the room, read the, if they're not into it, you can't like force a snake. So that's all. How did it start? I don't know. That may have been the precursor to what went on after, but I'm just saying, here's the thing. It's a limp snake. That's mistake numero uno. Everybody knows if you're going to go into a hand-to-hand, foot-to-foot, mouth-to-mouth snake fight your snake's got to be stiff, dude. Your snake's gonna have to be stiff. There are products out there, they say it might have been an older snake and an older gentleman. It's hard to tell the age from the camera and the angles, and it's not the best shot, but you do see something. So was the snake perhaps in need of a little boost? Could we have gone and provided the snake with a little bit of, once again, I'm not even sponsored by any of these companies out there, Viagra, Blue Chew, all sorts of dick pills, fucking off-brand, generic dick pills, any of them. And if you like to be like, man, every once in a while, we do hear you talk about a dick pill or two, would you like to get sponsored? I'm not saying no to the like dick pill sponsorship. If anybody out there is like, oh, I wonder, it's fine, I will, because it's one of those things that I will, I could promote easily. We'll get behind all sorts of dick pills, the most aggressive of dick pills, the ones that'll blow all the other dick pills out of the water with extra jizz and everything. God, you're gonna have a heart attack on this shit. But the point is, ladies and gentlemen, this snake here is a limp. So you're already going into this battle, this combat with a limp snake, and you're gonna think, how do you think this is gonna turn out? Everybody knows if you're gonna attack, if you're gonna make a move, if this is a snake fight, it's best to have a stiff snake. Now, again, there are pros and cons to all this. Pros, one of the pros, again, we are now entering in a realm where we can perhaps utilize snakes differently and other animals too. We don't see too often people going at it, trying to come at each other with an animal. I like to see a little bit of that, maybe in different categories, different animals. Attack get in a competition where you're like attacking each other with a rooster, but not like a traditional cockfight where the cocks are fighting independently. And like you hold on to the cocks. You hold on to the cocks and you're going cock to cock right there. Right there in his eye, in your eye. It's a cock fest. That could go down. There's so many other crabs, dude. Get a couple of crabs and get a couple of lobsters. Get a couple of lobsters. You know what I'm talking about? Just four claws coming at each other. Oh, what's this? It's a lobster fest. But the snake fighting, I would like to see this, go further. I think this is just, perhaps we're just scratching the surface. I think maybe there's more to this. If we could get some sort of a competition going, some sort of an underground little, like, a little whatevs. We don't even need much, dude. Few snakes, few people who are willing to put it on the line. And I say here's the thing, it goes in like the competition in my mind, and I'm open to ideas. This is not just like, this is an us thing. This is a community thing. This is not just like, oh, there's so much to be done and there's so much work to be done by everybody could come in with their ideas. But my idea here is that we have the two gentlemen or two ladies with the snakes fighting, right? The snakes go at each other, or you're going at each other with the snakes in your hands, snake fighting, sort of like sword fighting, sort of like what is this? Is it sword fighting? Is it what are we doing here? Is it, who knows? It could be anything. But really, you go at each other with the snake, with the loose snake. The objective is to obviously get the fangs of your snake somewhere critical on the opponent's bod, jugular, nuts, vag lips, anywhere really, so that they can just like stick the old, these are the fangs, that's the nutsack right there, dude, right there, and just right there. That's how you win. If you can get your snake to latch onto the opponent, that's how you win. But the competition doesn't end there. You win the fight between you and the opponent. The next level is to now you exit the pit, toss in the snakes in the snake pit, and all of a sudden you got yourself a snake fight too. So if your snake wins that fight as well, that's like a bonus point. This is how it's blowing my mind. I hope that you guys can see the sky's the limit really with this thing. Are there gonna be fatalities, or is this not the, this is like sort of like the X Games. Imagine like, what do people say about, skateboarding and BMX biking and all that jazz in the beginning? Oh, dangerous, loop-de-loops in the air, how, broken bones, samesies, different. Oh, this lady's foaming at the mouth because she got bitten by a snake. Oh, python is like really poisonous or whatever. Oh, the snake just choked out this, young adult who decided to, take his college tuition and bet on himself instead of, putting that towards his education or whatever you do. It's just what it is. That's what it is, baby. We put it on the line, and it's up to individuals to decide if this is the ride for them. And it's Monday, so let's get it going. Other aspects of this that could potentially go right or wrong. I mean, the snake, you are working with a wild animal. At any point, your snake could turn on you as well, which in hindsight could be viewed as a negative, because you're like, oh, what if my snake turns on me and bites me in the middle of the fight? Could happen. But at the same time, this is kind of like training with weights on. So you're going to have to be on your toes a little bit extra, which is like resistance training, which in hindsight is, again, more positive than negative, if anything. Initially, you're like, man, this is hard working with a snake. It's no different than any other sport, really, except that it's with poisonous snakes. So it's very much the same. I think we can get it down the line regulated, not like right off the bat. If anything, I'd like to personally keep things on the, DL a little bit, because it's just so hard to get these things insured. And like, but everybody likes a nice fight with a snake or an animal involved. Get a badger, just toss it in there, raccoons, anything really. The world's your oyster. Chuck oysters at each other. That's another event that I'd like to be able to see. These are all just ideas that we're cooking, that we're getting inspired by one another. Who was in the right, who was in the wrong, I frankly don't know. Are there any other things that could go awry in this scenario? You could, spending a lot of time with a snake, you might become that snake lady or fella that we spoke about earlier. And again, it comes with its territories. It's not for everybody. I don't recommend the life. But then again, yeah, there's going to be naysayers. There's going to be people who are like, oh, that's the snake guy. That's the snake lady. And they say it, dude. They say it, lady. And if you can just, ignore the noise, move past it, sure, family members will probably going to have a hard time visiting, especially if they've got young children. Friends are probably going to be like, I do want to hang, but you got too many Slytherins just slipping and sliding up and down everywhere in your place. Last time I was there, crawled up my pants, ended up in my asshole, came out my mouth. I don't want to mention it, but I mean, what are we doing here? Things happen in friendships. And what I'm just saying is, if you become the snake guy or the snake lady, be prepared to, you're going to have to make a decision, is what I'm trying to say. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that I like to see these things, and at one point or another, should your relationship flourish even further, if you happen to fall in love with a snake, end up getting fucked or fucking a snake, that is, again, something that is anatomically plausible for both men and women in different ways. I think actually before the invention of the sock and the flashlight, men used to, go to town with a snake. You know what I'm saying? Just, practice time before the real deal comes around. And then the ladies could obviously, it's a whole nother situation, but I'm just saying, snakes are wild. You're wild. Have fun with it. But also, and I gotta say, the other guy didn't have a snake, so it's kind of like not fair, empty-handed versus a snake. Again, this is just the beginning. I think we can iron out a few little deets here and there, and together we can get something good going on. Ladies and gents, it is Monday. What else is going on in and around the world? I've read an article, I've read similar articles, I've heard of different ideas concentrated around the same idea in regards to education, schooling, unschooling. A couple in the UK I read was they decided not to teach their children how to read and write, and they're just not doing schooling. From what I read, from what I understood, just not doing traditional schooling. And I thought, I've heard of this before. This, I guess, it's forever been there. There are people for probably thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years. Maybe they've done homeschooling, maybe they've done no schooling, that's not the majority. Majority of people happen to go to, schools of sorts. Most people tend to, it's not the popular thing to do is to go to school. That's not, you send your kids to school. That's been the thing. But here's a new, or maybe re-emerging idea. It's not, again, because we started originally with no school, then we went to school, and then no school would technically be it'd be a resurgence. It wouldn't be a new idea, because we didn't have schools in the beginning, but then we made, so it could be a new time. It's a new idea. It's what it is. It's an idea. It's an idea. Unschool your kids. Don't teach your kids how to read and write. And initially, when the title comes out, when you read, people don't want to be teaching their kids how to read and write, you're like, well, damn, that's gonna be. But and I want to understand it. I'm like, because I don't have kids. I'm like, how would this help me out? Who knows? Maybe one day we will. Maybe one day we won't. But it's just nice to think about all these different ideas. And yeah, if you were to send your kids to school, obviously there's the pros and cons of that. You get to go to school as a young man or a woman. You make friends. You trials and errors. You make friends in the schoolyard. And the next thing you know, it's kickball time. What are we doing here? We're playing hopscotch. We're playing badminton. We're playing tennis, or it's football or basketball or all sorts of sports. And then get a hot plate. It's science class. Get a protractor. We're using protractors. Get a ruler. Sharpen your pencil. Pay attention. Focus on the teacher. Eyes on the teacher, everybody, and then eyes on your papers. But also learn to share. Like sharing is all. So these are, and then you work. You learn to work together, and then get grades. You get grades A, B, C, D, and so on. And like if you're an A+ student, you're a good student. If you're like further down the line in terms of where you land on the alphabet and the grading, you suck. And learn to do better in more or less words. Sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on what kind of schooling. All that to say is that if you go to reg schooling, you get exposed to a lot of different things, but that's like the majority of like everyone's experience. But then you get acclimated to socializing. You make friends. You may lose a friend. You may move. You may do this, that, and the other, and it's cool. It's nice. You get exposed to all that. But there is certain things that do come with schooling as well. There's regiments. There are rules. There is and everybody's kind of crammed in to large classes, and and everybody's learning at a different pace. There's all sorts of different pressures. So having an alternative perspective and being like, what, I'm gonna not school my kids. And the argument now is, I guess, with technology and like access to all sorts of info, they can read, they can write, they can learn all that on their own. They can learn a lot. People can technically learn a lot on their own. And I don't know, this is going to be one of those things that's, if you are going to apply it to your life, everybody's going to apply it differently. It'd be great if you can conduct it in a way that you'd have other family members or perhaps friends or other community members who are doing the same thing, so that you guys can like get your, so that the kids actually like interact with other kids. That'd be kind of productive in a sense, because otherwise, the pros of arguing for that no schooling is that the kids go and pursue their passions, and you just like let them, like if they're really excited about something, if they really show interest in something, you let them pursue it and you support it, and whatever it could be. And that could prove to be more beneficial than regular schooling. I don't know, I don't know if there are any large studies on this, but yeah. And then again, studies are whatevs, dude. Who cares about studies? We're not about studies up in here. We're about like, how you feeling? Go with your gut. It's go with your gut, I believe. So it's Monday and we're queefing, baby. We're queefing hard. So if you don't send your kids to school, all of a sudden, at around 10, 11, 12, they might get intense about woodwork, carpentry, for example. And then all of a sudden, by the time they're in their late teens, 15, 16, heading into like later teens, they've developed a craft that they happen to fall in love with, or whatever, fencing. Maybe they want to be a fencer. All kinds of fencing too. Putting up fences on local places that need fences, buildings, but also fencing the sport, so they could be like twice the fencer, because they had all the time to focus on one thing, which was two things in this particular case, but nonetheless, they're doing things. So could that work? Yes, absolutely. Bullies and abuse. No more bullies and abuse for those kids who are probably getting homeschooled. If there's going to be any bullying or any sort of abuse, it'll be organic, homegrown abuse and bullying, which is, you do need to see, you can't just take something away without having, like, you got to substitute, so because there's going to be an empty feeling of, oh, the world's so like, oh, no bullies. So you got to like sprinkle a little bit of bully every once in a while. You got to trip your kid every once in a while. You got to give him a wedgie, dress in dark clothes at night and just like sink their head in the toilet, give them a noogie, and just wet willy them every once in a while. And if you can provide a disguise, so to not provide a, you don't want to be one of those parents that's like, oh, this is the world. You don't want to put them in a bubble, is what I'm saying. So you want them to be exposed to a little bit of adversity, essentially. Maybe if you're gonna do all, like, from kindergarten all the way to high school, do 1 year of like, oh, we're best friends. Next year you come in as both the teacher but the new kid who's the bully, and then you bully your kid a little bit. I don't know, you know what I mean? And again, all sorts of it, and this is so that you get a wholesome, because you don't want your kid to be like, at that age when they're finishing high school, supposed to be entering real society or whatever, and then they're like not capable of like interacting with anybody else, because that'd be weird. So you don't want them to be retarded, essentially. And but that's the thing. That's not to say you can send your kids to reg school and have them not be retarded. That happens all the time, all day, every day as well. So really, you're rolling the dice all day, every day with all sorts of things, and it comes down to you. And yeah, given today's, there has been a lot of, it's in the news, you do see it in real life. There's a lot of things to be asking yourself. Can it work for everybody? Probably not. Can it work for a couple who's like, we're gonna do this together, or maybe there's some sort of a small support group of sorts that you can pool together, resources, time, energy, have a couple of parents that you can trust, like, do that shit. Maybe it'll work. Maybe you'll raise a bunch of geniuses, or maybe you'll raise a bunch of psychopaths. It can go really either way. We will see. But I'm hopeful for both the regular public and private schooling system and folks who want to, opt out of that and be like, we're going to do things differently. We're going to raise some pirate kids. Hell yeah, dude. That's honestly, I don't even have kids, but it does sound appealing, but it also does sound like that portion of like, oh, whatever, let's just like have a couple of feral kids, dude. How fun is that? Because that's like fucking wild, baby. But at the same rate, it does take a lot of time, energy, and resources. Unless you go completely, you know what, like just fucking like come to me when you need like real fucking thing. Don't come to like whatever else, like figure it out. Give them, I don't know. I'm not, yeah, this is why, and it's just nice to see that it is a different option available to you out there. I wish everybody the best, obviously. Are there pros and cons to all? I think we did cover the pros and cons. You might get to make friends. You might face a little bit of adversity. You might, have a teacher that you don't like, have a teacher that you do like. You might like a subject, you might not like a subject. But these are all things that are, available to people. It is nice. But at the same, yeah, your kid's gonna, here's the thing, the risk of it, people I guess might not want to opt for this because they're like, what if my kid becomes a complete, my kid becomes odd or is like, is weird. And to that I say most kids slash grown-ups who start off as kids are to varying degrees odd and weird. So it's just like, if you yourself are okay with that concept of being a little bit diff and being okay with that and knowing that you shouldn't worry about what society tells you, because what is society? What is it? It's a lot of things, but at the end of the day, whatever makes your little heart happy there. So to that, I'm just saying that there's options. Do I recommend it? If you think it'll work for you, do it. If you don't think it's not going to work for you, send those kids to reg school, dude. Honestly, it is a lot, and it's good to have schooling, I think. I don't know. We've never known. How would we find out if this, like, we gotta do like a large scale test, just like do a whole mass, like just let's not send 1,000 kids to school, see what happens. Large scale, just fucking whatever, dude. I'm just putting out ideas there. So they do say there's a lot of things to be talked about and thought about. These are interesting ideas that are, because schooling, there is certain, I could see how some parents might find this attractive, be like, I don't want to send my kids to school where they're, sometimes maybe swayed in particular directions that has nothing to do with the skill sets that they need in real life. Whether it's gender ideology or, getting swayed to become some sort of climate fanatic or whatever else. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things to be said about our schooling and overall like frame of, I don't even know what I'm saying, dude, but that's just education, dude. A little bit of the education. What can I say? Came on the old radar. I thought it'd be interesting to run a household with a bunch of feral kids. I imagined it for myself for a second. It's kind of dope, not gonna lie. But that's like way down the line, dude. That's like when I'm fucking 800,000 years old, because that, 2030, baby, we're fucking, that's what it is. But I'm waiting till 2030 and whatever, like they say we can, they've talked about that shit. We're going immortal, baby, past 2030. So yeah, I'll wait it out. I'll see how it goes and maybe not. It all depends on my mood, very much like music. I'll listen to everything and anything depending on the time and the location. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, it's I did hear a little bit of every once in a while I get a little bit of a little clip from different people on the lines. You might see this, that, and it's like, you'll hear Biden talking for a second. This is, I guess, in regards to like, he's giving a speech, if I'm not mistaken, at a university. He said the biggest threat right now is biggest threat to either democracy or America or democracy and America, and like whatever, the biggest threat, white supremacy. He said white supremacy is the big, and it's just, and I saw that, and at the same rate, week after week, we've just been seeing more amplification of migrants coming into the or trying to come into the United States. And I'm like, man, if there's so much white supremacy is like the word, then why do people keep coming at, they're like literally like throwing themselves over the border? So, you know, I think maybe that's like, definitely was a thing at one point, or like, you know, it peaked and it died a long time ago. Does it exist? Like I've never actually seen a white supremacist, and I feel it's, I gotta say, man, I'm not even white, dude, but I feel like it's been tough on my whites. I'm gonna say it. It's been tough on my whites. Nobody else is saying it. At least I haven't heard anybody say it. But it's tough being white these days. It's tough being anybody these days. You know what I mean? It's just tough. Life is, life is gooch, no complaints whatsoever. But you know what I mean? Life is like, you know, and people, in order for you to have like some sort of like, oh, I want to be any supremacist, especially based on, who does that? Like there might be like legit one or two people. Like legit, dude. And that's like, because it's, I don't know the stats on it, but I've not ever seen it. I don't ever like, you know, that's, and you do see people coming, all sorts of people from everywhere. Like, and it, so I think maybe that's just like one of those things where maybe it worked in the past, and it definitely did. Maybe it did exist, definitely, to like it did exist, like, you know, but we're so, it's right now, it feels like a crappy scarecrow is what it feels like. Because like, it's like, I get it, you have like, you don't want to maybe focus on the border or the issue of like migration and like overall global population like coming and going and all that jazz. So you're like, oh, biggest threat in America, there's white supremacy, scares, and people are like coming in constantly, and they've been historically cut. And if it was that, you know, it's, and people come in and they're settling in for the most part. If they, you know, not saying nothing's perfect, but for the most part, people are opting to come to America. I've never seen anybody else go to any other country as much as they've been going to America historically, and even in current times. So it feels like you got to like focus on other issues, and like that to me is like again, it's like, dude, like we're like crows essentially. Humans are like crows. You know, with first you're like, oh, scarecrow, but then a couple of us like, you know, fly and sit on it because they do that, and eventually like, nah, it's all right, nah, come, nah, it's fine. Then they yell to the other ones, and they start communicating, nah, it's fine, nah. However, you know, crows communicate, nah, come, you know, and you're like, oh, this is, and it's nothing there. I don't even know what I'm saying, dude. I'm just saying it's yeah, because everything as soon as like anything goes down, it's like, oh, this is, you know, this is white supremacy, or this is racist, or what and it's like, no, and like it just takes away from the one time that the thing might actually be real, so you don't actually even pay it into, like, it's just, yeah, I saw that, I'm like, man, that is, but then again, the border situation is something to think about. These two thoughts kind of coincided together. I've you know, problem, solution. Do you want to let people in? Do you want to not let people in? Because there's different solutions for everything. If we're putting people in, there's different ways you could do that. If you want to deter people, I've thought about this before. I have mentioned moats, alligators, sharks with alligators, shark gators, shaders, gate sharks, garks, sharks with, you know what I'm talking about? Fucking get the crossbreed the animals, large moat all across the border. Really, you can't, and that's the thing. Walls, if you want to keep people out, it has to be across the entire border. It can't just be like, we're gonna build a wall in this section. It's got to be high, thick, juicy wall with a moat on both sides, with all sorts of creatures in the moat. Dig holes so that when they cross the border, they fall in a hole, and make it deep enough so that they can't crawl back up, and make it kind of like make it on an angle, and a steep angle, so it's hard to climb out of. build a road that'll make a road, be like you want to cross into the, build a road and just kind of have it circle back into Mexico, or I believe people, not all of them are Mexicans, of course. I've heard other people from other, I don't know to how, like, I don't know the stats of it. I don't know what percentage of the people are like coming in from like Venezuela or wherever. I don't know, but have it like, have a road, have a side road, so that when they do climb over, they're like, yes, we made it over to the, but have it be like, oh yeah, just follow this road to the U.S. with an arrow, with a bunch of arrows just pointing, but really have them walk long enough, and they're probably like dehydrated, tired. Most of them are probably going to be, there's going to be like, you know, children. They probably don't even, you know, the children who probably have not had water, food, and barely speak because they're children, and definitely don't speak any English. So that's, you could easily with a couple of arrows just be like USA, arrows, circle back. You know what I mean? That'll buy you some time. If you want to let them in, I don't know how that works. And I've been, you know, I don't know how I feel about this. Overall, I do have my like overall like, I can only speak with myself and how my, you know, they say the worlds of the colliding of the worlds is the personal with the non so personal. So from a this experience, from this perspective, do I understand borders? Do I get a, what's a border? It's a line that you draw around a thing that you want to say a thing's mine. I gets that, because like I'll have a border. I'll have a border straight up. This right here is essentially a border, right? That's a household is a border of sorts. A fridge is a border for your food. Your tummy is the border for the food that you ingest. Your stomach lining is the border for your doo-doo. So also, I get the concept. A cup is a border for your water, so that the water doesn't spill unless the cup has holes, which was made probably in some sort of like abstract design class. Look, and this cup with the holes represents life, which is constant but also fleeting. It's like a cup of whatever, dude. You know what I mean? So this isn't like abstract art class. It's life. So do I get borders? Yes, especially if you got a nice thing going on. Yes, border it up. Put a couple of borders, put a lot of borders. But eventually, down the line, you know, there's other, you know, then you gotta, like, if we're looking at it holistically, how did people come to, you know, get to borders? That shit gets really confusing, and like, and then simultaneously you do hear arguments being made for a world where we're living without, you know, they call it different things, and it's one of those things that I don't know how I feel about, because I don't know much about anything. Free borders, essentially free travel. Some are, you know, I don't believe in anything that's like it's hard to have one, you know, one large brushstroke solution for any situation, really. And it's, you know, I'm not saying open the borders, but I'm also saying like it does seem a little bit arbitrary as to when we do open and close the borders, on who and where, and it's just what it is. Overall, would I like people to kind of like travel without any passports or documentation? Yes, but at this, like, but there's arguments to be made for no. And then at the end of the day, we're now constantly dealing with the, you know, we're moving in a day and age of like technology is advancing, where, you know, our currency is also being impacted. We're having all sorts of debates. Are we going to eventually become some sort of a digital currency sort of system globally? You do hear talks of CBDC, central banking digital currency systems, being implemented in small locations of the earth in different portions of nations. I believe Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken, Australia is kind of dabbling in, if I'm not sure. Again, don't take my word for it, but we do see these things coming in, and there's always artificial intelligences being added to the equation. Just the other day I was at McDonald's, and I saw, there's, you know how you're on like camera when you go to McDonald's, there's always a now they display you on the camera, but before it just used to be you saw yourself in the camera and there was a TV, you saw yourself. But now they've added another feature. This was not a thing before. Now there's like a green rectangle moving about with you and kind of like picking everybody up in a pixelated way. And I'm like, man, is that camera equipped with AI right now. I don't even know, dude. And at the same rate, I do hear that they're using AI to read thoughts, which is like whatevs. I don't know what we're doing. It's like telepathy, sort of, which is cool, but also invasive. So I'm like, if you're trying to read my mind, we all want the same thing. Just like big things, umbrella terms, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And these umbrella terms differ to varying degrees for everybody. Sex, everybody wants it differently. Drugs, it could be literal drugs or it could be a lifestyle. Fishing could be your drug. And rock and roll could be your lifestyle of whatever you're doing out there. You're out there hammering nails. You're out there closing cases. That's your rock and roll. So that's umbrella terms, but essentially we want the same thing. So if the AI were to read all of our minds, it would realize that we all kind of want the same thing in varying degrees, which I'm not too against. Then there's the concept of privacy. Would you be upset about finding out about every little thought that your perhaps lover has? When an attractive person or a not so attractive person walks by and they're attracted to them, what's that about, hon? All sorts of things. Could they lead to a world where we can move beyond borders? Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. You do hear about these technologies, but also it's like if we're reading minds, I've also been hearing that you could potentially read the minds of your pets, which is fucked up, because then like you're making love and they're licking themselves, and all this time you thought they're just licking themselves just because like cats and dogs lick themselves, but they're really trying to pleasure themselves while you're 69ing as well. And you're like, if they wanted some pleasure, why wouldn't they get on the bed with us? Because you've kicked them off the bed so many a times. They have learned, but they still have those thoughts. And he's licking his nutsack there, you know, Spot over there is licking his nutsack, looking at you, 69ing. And now you know, because you can read pets' minds. So all that to say, ladies and gentlemen, it is, you know, things are happening. Would I like to live in a world where there were no borders? Yes. Could we do it without any sort of passports? Yes. It would heavily rely on good faith and sort of like, without putting any labels or anything on, a sort of like, you know, if we can implement. So it's, I don't even know, dude. It's hard. It's difficult. It's difficult. You're never gonna, because that's the thing. There's the argument of like safety, but that's how they get you every time. That's how governance gets you, man. It's like they get in there, man. They're like, safety, dude. Can't just be going around queefing all day. Safety, man. And you're like, but we did. Apparently we did. Up until the 19th century, we did that. Apparently people just like moved around wherever they wanted to work and live. Could it be a thing? Have we done it in the past? Passports and borders are relatively new, so we didn't have them. Again, it's very similar to the schooling actually, so it's not a new idea, it's a resurgence. The only problemos I would have with it, if it comes in as like a, well, this is a nice thing we could do together, that'd be pretty dope. I'd be down for that. If it comes in with any sort of like WEF agenda or who is behind, if any of these like international, you know, I don't even know what to call them. They've got more rights than people, these entities that are out there. So I don't know what to, these corporations, these movements, these entities, that's what they are. They're not even, so they do things. So if it's, yeah, I don't want it to be like, you know, but at the, there, as you can see, there's so many, you know, we're living in a time where it's, we're gonna, in the next 10 years or so, in the next 10, 20 years, because of the way tech is moving, because of the way we're evolving with our jobs, with our society, with the way we're learning and growing, I think a lot of things are gonna be, I don't think this is anything cray-cray, but I definitely do feel like we're gonna be going through some, you know, it's gonna be a different future. The new future, the old new, is it? I don't know if it's old or new, but it's like it's now. It's now is what it is. The new now, the now. Hey there. Let's, you know, now. Things are happening, man. Things are happening. I'm just saying it's good to have fun, ladies and gentlemen. I'm excited for, personally. There is now 7 more weeks till it's the final countdown till it's liftoff. Are you ready to put on your helmets? Are you ready to wear your jock straps? Are you ready to get fucking litty? Because we're gonna be hitting the road in about 7 weeks. I'm excited. I've also been dreaming of different ways that I could approach the road. Could I potentially get into some sort of, traveling? Whilst I'm traveling, I get into some sort of underground dart throwing competition, dude. Just a fucking underground dart throwing competition. Ooh, he drives by day to get to his destination, and when the sun sets, when the sun is setting, and the bottles of beers are popping in all sorts of underground bars where there's revolving doors, where the stools that you sit on could at any moment just, take you to a bottom floor, because this speakeasy is filled and riddled with trapdoors and hidden passageways, and it's an exciting time. Holy crap, oh my god, a bar, a bunch of bars that are like kind of interlinked together with underground tunnels, and every other bathroom stall could lead you to a different room. Man, this bar is fucking lit, and I'm stuck because Axel Hardshaft is a dart thrower. That's right, Axel Hardshaft is a dart thrower who drives around from city to city, and once the sun sets, baby, the leather jacket comes on. You thought it was gonna come off, didn't you? No, it's evening. You wanna have a nice jacket on, nice leather jacket in the evening time. And Axel Hardshaft is a gosh darn good dart player, fucking really darting, baby. And he gets into all sorts of troubles. He settles scores doing the darts. And matter of fact, back in '89, the Berlin Wall, before it came down, Axel Hardshaft had to put a couple of boys in the Eastern German gang squad to work, to teach him a few things about darting. Because that's what you do as Axel Hardshaft. You know what I'm talking about, baby? Just the fucking guy that knows where the bullseye is. And he found that out the hard way. The bull actually chased him once because he found out where the bullseye is. It's the asshole of the bull. It's it's the bullseye, they say. You think it's the eye, but it's actually it's the asshole. And Axel found out the hard way. Was there a little bit of a chase? Yeah. And that's how running with the bulls actually started as well. So that is to say, ladies and gentlemen, the scores will get settled. The leather jackets will come on and off. There will be plenty of dart shows, extreme dart shows, dude. Fucking blindfolded dart throwing competitions, because Axel Hardshaft only knows how to throw in the blind. No, throw in the dark. That's right, throw in the dark. Right there, Zing. Cause it's Monday queefing time, and it's farts and butts and plugs and tits and ass, and it's Monday farts and queefs and farts and butts and plugs and farts and butts. Axel Hardshaft. Fucking what? I don't have a good. I gotta work on the dart throwing. I don't have a dart throw. You know what I mean? But like the broken beer bottles, the ladies wearing fishnet stockings and high leather boots, perhaps dancing on tables with poles, because it's that kind of bar, son. And anything goes, and Axel never backs down from a dart throwing challenge. So ladies and gentlemen, whatever you're doing out there, whether you're trying to read your pet's mind, whether you're deciding, am I gonna send this sperm and egg that I've produced in my body and is now in my female's body, am I gonna send it to school, or am I just gonna do a little bit of the old homeschooling myself, just because I think homeschooling would be uber beneficial for my child, should you feel like homeschooling is the way to go, then do it. Should you decide that public schooling or private schooling of sorts is the way to go, then do it. But also remember, there is no right or wrong in most scenarios. Some scenarios it's very clear what is right and what is wrong. Other instances, there's a lot of gray zones. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, where can you find these videos? Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Instagram. Follow me there if you like. Subscribe on YouTube for the full-length videos. Help your boy, help yourself out. Check out patreon.com/RobSadri is where you can fiscally give us a bump and see this bad boy snowball. I'm going to be back here again on Wednesday. In the meantime, I love you. Have a great start to your week. See y'all very soon. Peace out.